Good afternoon. This is Steve Sanson with Veterans and Politics. We have two guests today. First guest is going to be Thomas Wagner, who's a candidate and Veterans and Politics endorsement recipient for Henderson City Council, Ward 1. And then on the second half of the show, we're going to have Mr. Randy Voyard, candidate for Las Vegas City Council, Ward 5, and another Veterans in Politics endorsement recipient. Oh, okay. So, Jim, what's going on, brother?
Hey, not much, Steve.
Jim, did I mention your name when I first came on? Yeah, I did. I mentioned your name.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I'm just losing my mind today. My mind is lost, Jim.
Yep. That's just probably because, Steve, you were a guest on the show prior to this one, and you weren't used to sitting in a different seat.
Yeah, we're talking about chiropractor. Anyways, let's talk about what's going on in the world today.
I won't go as global as I usually do because I know we need to stick with a very important election coming up on Tuesday. I want to stay local, but just something that I've noticed in watching a lot of the different forums and town hall meetings that have been going on around town. A lot of city council candidates have been being asked what's their stance on illegal immigration, what are they going to do about education, a lot of things that they really
no control
they have no control over. But I was watching Nevada Week in Review, and their stance is that the candidates should still have an opinion on that and be able to answer those questions to the best of their ability. I do tend to agree that if somebody asks you what your general stance on illegal immigration is, you should probably know. However, I think that it would be a good idea, or what we try to do with Veterans in Politics, is educate the voters so that you actually know what your city councilman does, what a county commissioner does, what a mayor does, what they actually have control over. So I would encourage our listeners to go out and educate some of the voters that don't understand what a city councilman does. And we have two city council candidates today, so I'm sure I'll be asking them plenty of questions that they will be able to control.
You know, I just wanted to let everybody know who to vote for come April 5th. Although today's the last day for early voting, right?
Well, actually, it's over. I think April 1st was the last day.
Was it yesterday?
Yep. Now you have to go on Tuesday.
Okay. For Las Vegas mayor, you know, we didn't pick anybody in that race, so it's I guess it's open season on that one. And for Las Vegas City Council Ward 1, we went with Councilwoman Lois Tarkanian. Las Vegas City Council Ward 3, we went with Bob Coffin. Las Vegas City Council Ward 5 is Mr. Randy Voyard. Las Vegas Municipal Court Judge Department 2 is George Trapman. Las Vegas Municipal Department Judge Department 3 is George Assad. Las Vegas Municipal Court Judge Department 5 is Judge Cedric Kearns. North Las Vegas City Council Ward 2, Carl Gatson. North Las Vegas City Council Ward 4, Councilman Richard Churchio. North Las Vegas Municipal Court Judge Department 1, Catherine Ramsey. Henderson City Council Ward 1, Mr. Thomas Wagner, who's sitting in the studio right now. Henderson City Council Ward 4, Mike Mayberry. Henderson City Municipal Court Judge Department 3, Judge Diana Hampton. And Boulder City Council Member Rose Ann Rabiola Meal. And for Boulder City Mayor, we didn't endorse anyone in that race as well. So, do you have anything else?
No, let's get to our two guests.
And just to let everybody know, if they want to watch the videos to our endorsement interviews, go to veteransinpolitics.com and make sure you let all your friends know to go to that website as well. So if you don't like our endorsement winner, at least you be educated when you go to the voting booth. I hate uneducated voters, you know.
Yeah, it gets a little frustrating. I do have one last thing. Nothing against Caroline Goodman, but just so everybody knows, that commercial that she's talking about how she's going to be the education mayor. The mayor of Las Vegas doesn't have a whole lot of control over the Clark County School District. Just thought I'd toss that out there.
It's true. Well, Tom, how you doing today, sir?
Excellent, thank you.
Could you give us
What?
a little background information about yourself?
Absolutely. 23-year resident of Henderson, 23-year police officer with Las Vegas Metro. Currently a detective sergeant in the missing persons detail. So,
You know, I don't like cops.
Well,
get,
that's
it,
okay.
get rid of him, Jim.
It's okay.
Now, go ahead, Tom. I'm messing with you.
Oh, that's all right.
He goes, I don't like criminals.
Well, maybe you should slow down. I'm just saying. Okay. So, anyways, short interview today, folks. Thanks for staying.
Go ahead with your
Yeah.
resume, Tom.
You know, I think it's important to have a background in community service before you try to run for politics, and I believe I have that. I started a nonprofit called PORC, Police Officers Riding for Kids. We raise money for underprivileged kids in Southern Nevada. To date, $270,000.
Wow.
Today, an event over at Town Square with Clip It for Kids for Nevada Childhood Cancer Foundation was over there. Decided not to cut my hair because I've got to look good for Tuesday. But anyways, in saying that, we had Henry Prentice Foundation, which is our police officer that was killed in the line of duty. Henry's daughters are still near and dear to my heart. I actually received the Police Officer of the Year twice from Sheriff Keller and Sheriff Moran. Very honored to receive those. Helped start the Amber Alert, which is our statewide Amber Alert system. So I think there's a great background there to start off with in a community.
So, I have to ask, why you run against an incumbent?
Well, you know, I've been asked that before, and people would say, well, if you were going to move, which I did, and that was a residency issue that was brought up, a complaint, and I thought moving out of a 4,000 square foot house after a divorce, and my two sons in college and doing great in.
Well, it looks like your opponent's going to have to move too with her foreclosure.
You know what? I feel so bad for the Schroeder family, and it's unfortunate situation for them. But talking about an open seat, I could have ran for Steve Kirk's open seat, but I didn't run and I didn't move to run for politics. I moved, and then I was approached by a lot of people that said, hey, we need a change in Ward 1. Would you consider it? And I said, absolutely, let's do it.
So what is the incumbent not doing that you would do different?
Well, I think we have to have our name attached to programs. I think that you have to leave a legacy when you run for politics. I think I've left a great legacy with Metro, with the Amber Alert and Bike Patrol up on the Strip, things that I've been involved in. And I don't see one project that we can actually tie the name of Jerry Schroeder to. And that's disturbing after 4 years. There's a lot of programs that I will start right away. One of them being helping move the 51s to Henderson. We've got to have a local ball field. The 51s are anxious to move out of downtown, obviously. I've talked to Don Logan and some other developers, and there's some things in the works there. It was brought in front of the council about 8 years ago, and it was turned down. The plans are already there. We just need to find the funding. There's plenty of city land available, and our contribution to that would be, hey, let's give them the land, let them build it, and have a hometown atmosphere. Reno's stadium is off the hook. If you go up to Reno, Nevada, when there's a ball game in town, that stadium is sold out, and that's the kind of atmosphere we need.
So you think Las Vegas is going to let the 51s go?
You know what? I would love to say that Las Vegas has the opportunity to renovate the Cashman Field, to do some constructive things that would keep them there. But they've had a chance. When you talk to the people that are in...
So Tom, you're just mad because Las Vegas took Zappos, right?
Yeah, you know what? I'm upset about that. That's wrong. We lost 1,200 jobs to the city of Las Vegas, and kudos to them, but we didn't try to keep them. We lost Ford Credit, so we're talking over 2,000 jobs that we've lost. Everybody talks about retaining or bringing businesses to a community. Shoot, we can't even keep them. So I think we need to have an aggressive approach to keeping businesses. First of all, what is our current city council doing to attract new businesses? One, and they tout that, that's great, but are you knocking on doors of business owners and saying, what are we doing wrong? What can we do different? What's going to keep you in business? And I think those things are important.
So this is a part-time job, right?
Yes, sir. Part-time.
So how come it pays over $40,000 part time? Some people don't even get half of that on full time.
Well, and our city council charter is set up that way, so it's part-time. So it encourages our city council members to have a full-time job, which most of our council members do. Our mayor, before he ran for mayor, was a 20-some-year city councilman, Andy Hafen, with a full-time job with Las Vegas Metro. He was one of the civilian investigators, special investigations. So we have a history of our elected officials having jobs other than touting that you're a full-time city council person.
So, Tom, since you like to leave a legacy, would you think about, because me and Steve, we pretty much bring this up with everyone who's running for Henderson City Council. One of the things, I'm not going to speak for Steve on this one, but I disagree with, is that you're running for Ward 1, but you have to run citywide. I really think the charter, someone should look at changing the city charter.
Yeah, that needs to be done at a state level, and that is one of the things that myself and some other candidates have been very vocal in saying that, one, it cuts down the amount of money that you need to raise. Obviously, for an incumbent, it's a lot easier to raise money when you're in office. So it really discouraged people who have a heart of running that really don't know that they can run the kind of money that it takes to run an effective campaign. One of the things that I would like to do is to get us, like everybody else, run within your ward. You're representing the people in the area that you live. And the unfortunate part is my opponent talks about, well, I'm a carpetbagger. I've lived in Henderson 23 years, 3 years longer than Ms. Schroeder. So in saying that, I believe I have a legacy of community service, coaching baseball, a lot of proactive things in Henderson. And yes, I just moved to Ward 1, but in the city of Henderson, we run at large, so everybody votes.
So that shouldn't be a problem, because we have a mayor candidate for Las Vegas who just got his citizenship last year, but he's been in this country for 28 years, and he says how he loves America, and he would join the Army if he was younger, but he just got his citizenship last year. I think that was to run for mayor.
It probably, yeah.
Which I thought was pathetic, but that's a whole nother show. But Tom, what are you going to bring to the table besides your community involvement and your 23 years on Metro? What are you going to bring to the table for the citizens of Henderson?
I believe that it takes leadership. When you have a person that is a proven leader in his or her occupation, I think that's key to the city council, any city council. And I can proudly say that I've been a leader. For the last 8 years, I've been a leader with Las Vegas Metro in the missing persons detail. I've started programs. I believe that you have to make tough decisions also. 2 years ago, everybody touts about the PERS system and the union contracts. 2 years ago, Sheriff Keller came to us, or Sheriff Gillespie came to us and said, hey, you guys are my leaders. Your guys' contract is up. What are you going to do to set an example? So 2 years ago, before the economy really got bad, we gave up college incentive, clothing allowance, a lot of perks that we had. And a lot of people, while I'm out there, have talked about, well, you have a fat contract. We had fat years. But I think it's going to take somebody in office that is willing to make a tough decision to look somebody in the eye and go, you know what, guys, you got to give it up. You've got to do the right thing. And I don't believe that we have that.
How's your homeless population in Henderson?
You know what? I often say I live in Henderson and work in Las Vegas. We have a homeless problem, I believe. And I think it's prevalent as you go down Boulder Highway. I live off of Boulder Highway and Equestrian. I see it. And it's unfortunate, especially since I know a lot of those people are veterans. And that's disturbing. I think we need to do a lot better job. We've got a great councilwoman now, Kathleen Boutan, who started Nevada Partnership for Homeless Youth. And I think the kids is a great side of that. But just like the Amber Alert, when we address the Amber Alert, it is for children under 18. Well, we currently have a bill in front of the legislators which is going to help our senior population, which is the Silver Alert. We need to do a better job on that side also and do something for our adult homeless people.
So, Tom, one of the things that one of the ideas that has been tossed out there is, since you worked for Metro, okay, then you would, I believe it was about 1978 when they actually created Metro, where they brought
73.
about okay,
close, yeah.
I was reading an article on it because they were one of the ideas that's been floated out there now is we all know the problem that they're having with the Clark County Fire Department is actually creating like a Metro for the fire department. What do you think about that idea?
Well, that's funny you should say that, because there was a mailer that was put out against me that said I believe in consolidation. And that came from the Henderson Chamber of Commerce online interview that said, what are your feelings about consolidation? The first 5 words for me as I started out my comments to my answers was consolidation is good. And I kept going to a 3 or 4 sentence paragraph that talked about consolidating services, that being business license and those type of things. Right. My opponent then says that I want to consolidate police and fire, putting all Henderson residents at risk. I talked nothing about that on the chamber interview, nor do I support that, because I believe that as Clark County Fire has had a problem with their sick leave, our Henderson fire chief has done a great job, looked within his members and found nothing. So I think the individuality of those services are proving beneficial for Henderson, because we have leaders that are watchful over their officers and their firemen. So I don't support it. I don't think it's a good idea. Everybody talks about, well, in these tough economic times, when you see a red fire truck, you think Clark County anyways. Well, I know that people live in Henderson, love our Henderson Fire Department.
Okay. Steve, you got anything else before we take a commercial break?
Let's take a commercial break and we come back to Tom Wagner so we can discuss a little bit more stuff in detail. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas with Veterans in Politics. We'll be right back momentarily.
This public service announcement is brought to you by Veterans in Politics International. The Veterans in Politics mission is to teach, educate, organize, and awaken our veterans and their families to select, support, and vote intelligently for a better world, and to protect ourselves from our own governments and a culture of corruption, and to be the political voice for those in other groups that do not have one.
There are too many homeless veterans, and more help is needed from the VA. Every veteran service organization post should adopt a local homeless veteran.
The funding of VA medical centers is inadequate, and building a VA hospital in southern Nevada is moving at a slow pace. The budget has been flatlined for too many years. The VA is too quick to deny claims and too slow to help veterans gather records in support of claims.
Local politicians ignore veterans and their issues. They perceive a lack of organization among their local veterans, and that it won't hurt them at election time. Veterans too often vote party, not veteran issues. All veterans should vote in every election.
The news media give inadequate coverage to veteran issues and events. You must send letters to the editor and voice this concern.
Please contact your members of Congress and Senate and urge them to co-sponsor key legislation in supporting our veterans.
Please support Veterans in Politics. And to get more information, go to www.veteransinpolitics.com.
Americans have been fooled by politicians about illegal immigration. They make you think that if you bring up this topic, you are a racist. Did you know that America is the only country on this planet that does not enforce its federal immigration laws? For the fear of being called a racist. I am for legal immigration. I was born on the island of Jamaica, became an American citizen, served 12 years in the U.S. military, served in Desert Storm, and received a Presidential Unit Citation, National Defense Medal, and Marine Corps Commendation. Our immigration laws serve a purpose. I understand that this country was founded on immigration, but there is a wrong way and a right way. I'm here to tell you that illegal immigration is breaking our federal laws. Why don't you call me a racist? This is Steve Sanson.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jim Jonas and Steve Sanson with Veterans in Politics. We are continuing our interview with Tom Wagner, who is running for Henderson City Council Ward 1. Welcome back, Tom. How's it going?
It is great to be here.
Good. Hey, I'm glad we got that consolidation thing all cleared up, because they were trying to get you on that. So
yeah, and you know what? The nice thing is when the Henderson Chamber comes out and does a press release, and then our own commissioner, Steve Sislak, comes out against it. It's nice to see that people can step up and say, wrong is wrong, and you're a liar.
Well, Tom, I can tell you've been walking because you're tan.
Yeah.
So how's that been going? Walking's a very fun experience. What kind of what feedback have you been getting from the community as you do walk?
You know what? It's nice. I actually took 3 weeks off work, burning 3 weeks vacation. But in saying that, I think it's important. We did that 4 years ago when we lost to then Andy Hafen, councilman, and now Andy Hafen, mayor. And lost by a very close margin. But in doing that, I learned that you have to walk and meet the people. How else are they going to really know who you are? And that's what's been important, is you are actually seeing more and more challengers out there trying to meet people, which is great, because without the literature in the mail or something on TV, you're not going to know who that person is. The websites are great, but a lot of our older people don't have the internet services, so to really get out to them, it's going to be knocking on the doors.
Okay, Tom, one of the questions I wanted to ask that I've heard, obviously I haven't ever held an elective office, but I've heard from certain Las Vegas city councilmen that when they came in, they won and they beat a sitting incumbent. They had a lot of good ideas that they brought to the board, but had some issues trying to get those brought to light because obviously they were a newcomer. What are you going to do? You brought up leadership a lot. How are you going to, once you win that seat, how are you going to bring people together that might have that same attitude?
I think you have to make sure that everybody is aware of your tenacity, your ability to display a message, get that message sold. And when doing that, I think people either have to buy on or, like you said, they're going to get resistance. But I think the important things in politics is that you need to make sure that you have relationships. Good or bad, we can agree to disagree, but we're also going to know that Tom Wagner's position is A, yours might be B, but we might get to C. And it's important to know that we're all individuals. We all have our own projects, but what's best for the community.
Right. Another thing, too, Tom, right now what we're running, obviously everybody knows with the economy and with the high foreclosure rate, and I know Henderson has been hit particularly hard by that. And it seems like I've gotten most of the literature that I've seen, I know the city council races in Las Vegas, and I've heard it talked about with several candidates in Henderson as well. One of the things is that the theme seems to be that we need to make it easier for businesses to get licensed, to be licensed, and to make it easier on the business environment. But how do you balance that with the fact of making a business get business license and things of that nature also brings in revenue to the city? So how do you balance the fact for revenue for the city and actually being business friendly at the same time? How do you do that?
Well, I think it's important good leaders in the financial departments, and I believe I've met with those people. I see their ability to come up with creative ideas. Those things have to be done at a city level and with partnerships with business leaders. What are we doing to attract businesses, and more importantly, what are we doing as we lower taxes or put like I said during my veterans interview, what are we doing creatively to suspend business license? Right now we're at a $19 million deficit. With saying that, we're raising the water rates, we're doing other things at the city when we're not being proactive to our residents. So as everybody talked about business license fees, we could give the Clean Water Coalition money back, which is about $1 million. That $1 million could have paid for the Mary Peck 1.3 lawsuit. So there's some things, especially with the lawsuit that Stations now has against the city. We have to manage our own house before we can start doing a good job of the business license stuff too. So I think that all buys into the leadership, Henderson, and the people that are actually coming in with creative ideas.
You know, speaking of business license, Tom, we have a mayor candidate, George Harris, that wants to waive all business license fees. What do you think about that?
Well, you know, being a police officer, I think I'm pretty educated in criminal law, things that parental custody cases. For me to sit here behind the mic and say, hey, I would do this, this, and this, I don't think that I would be educatedly speaking. And in saying that, I think that you have a time frame when you're in office to you learn those things. I love that idea. I heard George speak about that about a month ago. And hearing that and then resonating with the veterans interview that I had about 3 weeks ago, you know, I wouldn't be objective to that if we can make sure that we are doing it to the people that already have businesses. I think we need to, like I said earlier, encourage our businesses to stay in Henderson and then be able to attract businesses that are coming. So I wouldn't mind suspending businesses across the board if, when I got into office, I was educated enough to make that informed decision.
And just so some of the listeners know that I would encourage them to get more educated on how city councils work, but city councils have staff and they have planning commissions that will give recommendations, and these business owners will come to the city councilman and give their proposals. So you will have that. You won't have to necessarily be an expert right on the spot. You're going to have a lot of smart people helping you with that decision as well.
Yeah.
Well, what do you want to tell the listeners in Henderson City why they should go to the voting booth and vote for Tom Wagner?
Well, I think the number one thing is you have to get out to vote. If you're going to use your U.S. given right to vote, and so many countries do not even have that right, we need to have educated voters, though. So if you can, get online, check out my website, www.tomwagner4henderson.com. My cell number, which is available 24/7. I've gotten a ton of phone calls since this last mailer came out, and I'm not afraid.
Could I call you 3 in the morning, Tom?
3 in the morning, 326-3363-702. And that's, I think, the kind of person that we need is somebody that's accessible, somebody that's willing to take the tough questions, answer them. Whether you like it or not, you're going to get the answer, and I'm going to be able to tell you why I feel that way. And I think, you know, voting on Tuesday is an important thing.
All right. Well, that's Tom Wagner, who is running for Henderson City Council Ward 1. Make sure you go to the voting booth and vote for him on Tuesday, April 5th. He has been endorsed by the Veterans in Politics International. Thomas Wagner for Henderson City Council Ward number 1. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas for Veterans in Politics. Don't go away, folks. We have Mr. Randy Voyard, who's running for Las Vegas City Council.
Veterans in Politics takes a proactive approach to provide you, the veteran, with the political voice for which you fought and served.
Veterans in Politics is becoming the premier veteran organization of the 21st century, with political candidate interviews, insight, and endorsements.
Public speaking engagements in support of American values.
Radio shows to keep you updated on the latest in veteran and military support operations.
Providing job placement and business support.
Go to veteransinpolitics.com today and do your part in defending liberty.
What are you doing online?
I'm checking out the belly dance class we took last week.
Where's it at?
TakeBackYourBelly.com.
That's right.
We worked our arms.
We worked our abs.
We worked so hard
and had a blast. No matter what your shape or size, come belly dance, you'll be surprised.
For class schedule and location, log on to TakeBackYourBelly.com or call 219-3151.
Are you a business owner struggling during these economic times? Please listen up. How would you like to put your business and services in front of every resident and business in the Las Vegas Valley for less than a penny per home? Yes, that's right. I said less than 1 cent per home and business. And how would you like to have a dynamic and exciting online presence with the major search engines? How about an online video for your business and a fully optimized website with absolutely no setup fee? Hi, my name is George. If you are interested in these and other services that can make your phone ring with clients and prospects, then call me at 702-296-8394. Just call George at 702-296-8394. Thank you.
While growing up, I've always asked my family, who is my father? I was told the name of a man When I became older, I looked for this man and found him. He thought that I was his son as well, but after a DNA test, it was discovered that my family was lying to me all my life. I pressured my family to give me the real identity of my father. I then became suspicious and took my grandfather's DNA. After I buried my grandfather, 2 days later I discovered that my grandfather was in fact my biological father. I questioned myself and asked, what is my purpose on this earth? I should have never been conceived. But when I look at my 4 children, I knew that everything happens for a reason. This is Steve Sanson. Find your identity.
Well, folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas with Veterans in Politics, and we have live in studio. Who do we have in studio, Jim?
Randy Voyer.
No. He's not just Randy Voyer. He's Mr. Randy.
Oh, somebody called my name? What?
See?
What was that?
See?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and you know what? He's in luck because I'm going to be one of his constituents.
Hoo-yah! Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that.
Running for Las Vegas City Council, Ward number 5. And has he walked your neighborhood, Jim?
He has not walked on. He's not knocked on my door that I'm aware of.
Well, there's a good reason for that. That's because I'm here right now.
Oh, there you go.
You got to take the good with the bad, man.
He doesn't even know where you live.
He's quick. I like that.
He doesn't know where you live.
He does now.
Yeah.
Well, first we like to present our endorsement to you, Mr. Randy, since you didn't have an event for us to come to like the other 13 candidates we went and visited.
Well, that's what it's like in the world of politics when you have just a guy who's got a day job trying to have a say in local government. It's kind of hard to put a time aside or to find events, $40, $50 luncheons and things like that. I can only afford but so many of those in the course of a month. But I do want to say I sincerely appreciate the endorsement from Veteran Politics. And the thing I appreciate about it the most is the fact that you guys actually took the time to ask the questions about things you cared about to find out what the person you would hire as a representative would do in the community if you supported them. And looking at the other endorsements that were out there, some of them I don't care if I get, even if it means a vote here or there. Why? Because they didn't take the time to ask the question. What that means is that they don't really care what you're going to do. They're looking at other things. They're looking at their own interests. They're not looking at Vegas as a whole.
Right.
They're not looking at the city as a whole.
They want to get their palms greased.
That's it. They're looking for not only do they want their palms greased, they're looking for their pawns. And I'm not going to be that. So I do appreciate.
So you don't play chess?
I do play chess, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
I can't say I'm that good, though. And I do play.
So, Randy, what are you going to do differently than your incumbent's doing right now?
Well, essentially what I'm going to be bringing to the table is a change in perspective, a paradigm shift, if you would, of what people should expect out of their city government. A lot of people want to know what is a politician going to do for them. You got to make a distinction between a politician as a person who makes their living, spending other people's money, telling other people what to do with it, as opposed to a person who's simply involved in politics, who's got another job, another interest, but is just doing their part to make sure that their interests are represented in that city government or whatever field or whatever level of government they're involved in. So it's not like I'm going to do anything different, per se, because I don't know what he's done. I see his face a lot. I know he's done some things.
What has he done? The only thing I've known that he's done is to finish up what then Councilman Lawrence Weekly did, and I don't see anything new that he's done.
Well, you got me there because I'm kind of feeling the same way, which is why I'm running.
I know the arrogance is still there. That has never left. So, and if it wasn't for Councilman or then Councilman Lawrence Weekly, who is now the County Commissioner Lawrence Weekly, the incumbent wouldn't be sitting in that seat right now.
That's probably very true.
That's not probably. That's definitely very true.
Well, me being a newbie to politics, I'll defer to you on that one
because he's been riding on the tails of Lawrence Weekly for a long time.
Yeah, and me.
That's just me being blunt.
That's all right. It's your show, man. That's no problem. I've always had jobs where I could get fired from them. I've been laid off. I've been fired. I've lost jobs, and I've done. I used to be a technical contractor. I was a lineman for about 10 years. I worked all up and down the Eastern Seaboard, so I know what it's like. You finish a job, you got 3 months off. You better make your budget so you can survive for those 3 months.
Right.
If you got to move, the expenses on you to move to where the work is. I've moved, 10 times since I've been in Vegas almost, but even moving around the rest of the country, it's a different perspective of where you think money comes from. When you don't work, I got paid production. When you don't work, you don't get paid. You want a vacation, you're going to pay for that vacation. You don't get a vacation day because you're getting paid production. You get sick, okay, you got sick. When I got blown off a pole because I got slightly electrocuted climbing one, okay,
Wow.
that was my time. I had to decide if I'm going to go to work or if I'm just going to lay up in bed. Okay, so you get your ass up and you go to work.
Right.
It's different if you're in politics, where you don't even have to show up, but you're not going to get laid off at least till the next election.
Right.
You're not going to get fired till the next election. And the only way that's going to happen is if your bosses actually look at the work you're doing.
Right.
And so I just want to be the kind of person that people feel comfortable calling and saying what they want out of me. That's my job as a representative. You're going to tell me what you want. You're going to tell me what you're expecting out of your community. And I'm going to do what I can to facilitate that and make it happen. So I don't want to come up with my own agenda of this is what I'm going to try to do. I'm just saying there's certain perspectives that I have that if people share, then they should understand that they will be most likely able to achieve what they want to achieve with me in that position to help facilitate it.
So what's the present issue do you see in Ward 5?
The lack of commerce. You know, when I put on my site and we talk about people first, government second, what that means is I worry more about what people do than what government does. Why? Because with or without a government, all the places I've lived in, regardless of the size of the community, whether it's 300 people or someplace in Chesapeake Bay, Virginia, or a major city, you know, Bronx, Queens, you know, Brooklyn, whatever, what we're looking at is people who do the same thing. Most people go to work. Most people raise their families. Their kids go to school. They spend time with the people they care about. And that's about it. Everything else is added on. You know, if you join clubs, associations, museums, those are all great. But the basics always count first. That's what people do first. So my feeling is government should have the least to say about the things that they have nothing to do with. You want to work, you get laid off, you shouldn't have to wait for someone to say, we'll hire you. You should be able to get your own thing up and going in seconds. The day you come back and you're laid off, you should be able to go home and say, I got an idea, I'm going to start working. I'm going to do the own thing, you know, what I've been planning on doing since I've been working. I've got my own little idea. I'm going to start it up in my garage. I'm going to start it up in my driveway. Or I'm going to start this little service here. You shouldn't have to ask another man for permission for that.
So that I remember the closure of F Street was something big in the news. Is that in Ward 5?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And how do you feel about that? That was an issue for a little bit.
Yeah, you know, with the F Street bit, you have a lot of opposing sides and various interests. I went to the meeting that they had a couple of weeks ago at the Doolittle Center, where they're actually going to be building an underpass through there, and it's going to have the ideas from the community as far as the murals they're going to put there and some of the amenities that they want to put there. And to me, the biggest thing about F Street was the fact that it seemed to be done with such a lack of respect. I think to me, manners are important. And if you're going to make a project that size and you're going to affect that many people, even if you don't think they're that important, I mean, geez, don't treat them that way.
Right.
Give them a say. Let them vent. Let them express their opinions because, after all, everything you're doing is going to be on their dime. You know, that's directly affecting where they live. The traffic may not mean much to everybody else who goes through that thoroughfare, but for the people who live on that street, there's a lot that goes along with that. A lot of them have been there for decades, longer than I've been in this city. And I wouldn't be so presumptuous as to go there and say, you know what, you guys are just in the way. Boom, we're closing it off. And then wait for a big uproar before we say, all right, let's open it back up to pacify you.
Right.
To me, it's a question more of respect than it is of economics or anything else.
Well, one of the issues that another individual that's running for City Council Ward 5 brought up against the sitting incumbent is that he seems to be more concerned with the more affluent side of Ward 5 than, say, the area of F Street, or when there was the issue of when the Vons closed years ago down on, I believe it was J and Owens or D and Owens, somewhere right in that area, and it took so long to get a supermarket back in there. Well, that individual said that Ricky hasn't really shown that much attention to that area. He's been more concerned about the affluent area. Well, I guess I'm considered the more affluent area of Ward 5, being in Rancho Manor, and you went to an association meeting and we couldn't get a fence built.
Yeah.
So I'm a little confused as to where he's focusing his energy.
Well, I think a couple of people are, but the thing you have to realize, what I'm learning as far as politics are involved, when you're an incumbent, you have 4 years and a lot of leeway and latitude to establish a constituency. And looking at the 10 to 15%, 20% tops turnout of the number of voters in Clark County, you really don't have to cater to that many people to win. And I think all you're looking at is political strategy. The guy knows who his constituents are. He's going to cater to them. He's going to make sure that he's got their support. And he's basically going to be a shoo-in for the election. So what I'm trying to do is to target all the people who feel the same way you do, the same way I do. and the way some of the other people around there do. They feel neglected, as if though their votes don't count. And a lot of people will vote by default because they just don't think they have an option. All I'm saying is I'm giving people a choice. You don't have to like me, but just look at what I've got to say. And if you think I'm a guy that you can work with, that you can communicate with, then I might be the man that can help you out.
You know what, Rainey, that brings me to a thought, and trying to piggyback on what Jim was saying. I remember I went to one of Jim Gibbons' parties, and when he was governor, and I was talking in great length to the waiters and the bus boys and stuff like that, and the governor passed by, and I'm still having this conversation with the waiters and the bus boys,
right.
And I remember one of the folks on the governor's attaché came up to me and goes, "Didn't you see the governor, walk by? How come you're still talking to the waiters and the bus boys?" I'm like, everybody's people too.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, in that party at my table, guess who was getting the best service?
Probably
me.
You.
Yeah. Because I took that energy and I talked to the people that wasn't so high up and talked to the people that was at the bottom. And you know what? I look at everybody the same. Everybody's people too. I remember when I was in the Marine Corps, they always say that generals put on their pants the same way you do. One foot after the other. And people, especially a politician, should not neglect somebody because he feels that this person can't offer him something. Instead, talking to somebody else that he feels that can offer him something. And that's what I see the incumbent is somebody that's an opportunist that goes to people that are leeches on people that he figures that he could get something from. And the ones that he can't, he kind of turns his back on them. And that's how he is. I've seen him in action for years, and I know that's how he is. That's probably one of the reasons he didn't show up to the endorsement interview, because he knows that I already know his position as being arrogant and as being an opportunist, that he won't even come on to be interviewed at a panel that I don't even have a vote for. See, if he did his homework, he would have known that I don't have a vote, so it wouldn't have mattered anyway. But he's so arrogant in his own world. He made his own judgment call.
And again, I'm going to refrain from using pejoratives because, again, I've only been here for 10 years. But there are a lot of people that echo that sentiment. I've run into people at their door in their house who are disappointed in the service that they've gotten over the past term that he's been in. I don't know what his history was prior to that. But, again, the point I want to stress to people, like what you were just saying with talking with the busboys and waiters and waitresses, people are people. And politicians are people, too. There's no reason to put them on a pedestal or to think that they're any different from anybody else. And that's the conversation I had with one of my constituents, hopefully one of my constituents.
Could you tell I curse everybody out, no matter
what
their
opportunity
rank
cursing,
might be.
man. Equal opportunity cursing.
They deserve it. I give it to them.
Let them have it. It's free, right? But, this lady, she was a very nice woman. And I just wanted to express to her, again, the fact that this is a job interview for me.
Right.
You're the one who's going to tell me what to do. You're the one who's going to make the request of me. The people I was speaking to, I say, I'm expecting phone calls. If I do win, I want phone calls because I need the direction. People will deal with the people they know. Right. It's important for the constituency to appreciate that and understand that they are the ones who have that directive power if they take it. Make the phone calls. Let them know who you are. Let them know you by a first name on a first name basis. When you want something done, don't talk to someone you don't know. Talk to the people who you do know, and you talk to the people who you just hired to be in an elected position. And that's what I'm offering. And if it hasn't been forthcoming from prior candidates or prior incumbents, then so be it. But I hope that the constituency learns also, as well as candidates at this point in time, that they're the ones in power. They're the ones in control.
All right, let's take a commercial break, and we'll be right back. This is Steve Sanson and Jim Jonas. We'll be right back momentarily with Las Vegas City Council Ward Number 5 candidate, Mr. Randy Voyard.
This public service announcement is brought to you by Veterans in Politics International. The Veterans in Politics mission is to teach, educate, organize, and awaken our veterans and their families to select, support, and vote intelligently for a better world and to protect ourselves from our own governments and a culture of corruption and to be the political voice for those in other groups that do not have one.
There are too many homeless veterans and more help is needed from the VA. Every Veterans Service Organization post should adopt a local homeless veteran.
The funding of VA medical centers is inadequate, and building a VA hospital in southern Nevada is moving at a slow pace. The budget has been flatlined for too many years. The VA is too quick to deny claims and too slow to help veterans gather records in support of claims.
Local politicians ignore veterans and their issues. They perceive a lack of organization among their local veterans and that it won't hurt them at election time. Veterans too often vote party, not veteran issues. All veterans should vote in every election.
The news media give inadequate coverage to veteran issues and events. You must send letters to the editor and voice this concern.
Please contact your members of Congress and Senate and urge them to co-sponsor key legislation in supporting our veterans.
Please support Veterans in Politics. And to get more information, go to www.veteransinpolitics.com.
Well, we're back. This is Steve Sansa, Jim Jones from Veterans in Politics, and we're here live in studio with Mr. Randy Voyard, who's a Las Vegas City Council Ward 1 or Ward 5 candidate, and hopefully become the next sitting councilman for that seat. Randy, could you tell the people why they should go to the voting booth and knock out that incumbent?
Because one way or the other, you're going to pay. And you really should. I'm thinking most people do care about what they spend money on, especially the way things are now. Before, when there's a lot of headroom, everybody's making money. Nobody really cares what happens as long as you're doing okay. But when things hit crunch time, it's a reality check, and you need to give who you're going to pay just as much serious consideration as anything else that you would buy or pay for. It's a service. People need to remember that in the form of government that we've got, your representatives are providing you with a service. You're hiring them. And, on that same note, I want to really stress to the people that my volunteers have taken the time to make phone calls to, the people who me and, Gabe and some other people who've helped me out. We've been walking door to door. You got to remember, I'm not trying to bother anyone. Again, it's a job interview.
Right.
And I do want people to understand that when you get a phone call, we're not trying to annoy you, and a little bit of consideration of the fact that this is the only way a guy who can't afford a billboard that's a couple of $1,000s or a few $100,000 in signs or whatever other candidates are spending, that's the only way I can let you know that I'm running. So I would just like for people to take that into consideration and remember that about any candidate, that when you get that phone call, and it's a real person on the other side, we're calling you because we care about what you think, and we're calling you because we want you to participate in the process that you're eligible to participate in,
One of your opponents, Stanley Washington, dropped out the race, correct?
That's true. It wasn't in time for him to pull his name off the ballot.
And he's supporting you.
Yes.
And that was right after the Veterans in Politics endorsement interview.
Yeah, that's true. I was kind of surprised by that, but I thought it was a really magnanimous gesture on his part. But the reason for it is because he didn't think there was going to be any legitimate opposition. And being a candidate's tough. If I could have it my way, I'd be at home, playing some games, whatever, hanging out with my friends. I wouldn't be going around making phone calls, knocking on people's doors. I wouldn't be making trips and spending money. Trust me, this is not something that you want to do if you're just an average person.
And you're in the martial arts too, right?
Yeah, I study a bit. I practice a bit. I keep that in
yeah. Just in case one of those politicians get out of line, you could do one of your flying kicks on them or something.
I usually let out the ninja death scream, when that happens.
Okay.
Sorry.
Wow, Randy. Do you have a website or contact information you'd like to provide?
Absolutely. On the website, it's mr-randy.com. That's Mr. with our little hyphen, Randy.com. And on it, it's got contact info. It's got some of the events that I've been on. Some of my views are more explained. I've written them out as far as the main 3 parts of the platform that I've put out there. The 4th part is going to be the project that I discussed at Veterans in Politics regarding a transition center. That's something that, I'd like to dream about to see what it takes to make it happen. I won't know what it's going to take to make it happen until I get in. But Stanley Washington is working actively on doing things along that same line. And so that's a project I look forward to working with him on. And, we'd like to see it done all locally, all in Vegas. There's no reason for Vegas to be suffering the way it is now. It's just due to a lack of strategy and a lack of foresight of the people who other people hired to look out for them. They didn't come through. They're coming up with another election. Here's your opportunity, Las Vegas. Here's your chance. Do something.
Okay, Randy. Well, it was really nice of you to come in, and I know you got 4 votes for sure because my whole household's voting for you. So.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate that.
Well, folks, thank you for coming on, Randy.
Hey, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
That is Randy, Mr. Randy Voyard, who is running for Las Vegas City Council Ward 5. We encourage all of our listeners and our veterans and politics members to go to the voting booth if you live in Ward 5. Or if you don't live in Ward 5, tell a friend that does live in Ward 5. And maybe email blast Mr. Randy out to all your friends and constituents for you to go to that voting booth and vote for him, because we need new leadership in Ward 5. Arrogance has to go out of politics, and we have one in there, and we need to remove him quickly. This is Steve Sansa with Veterans in Politics. Until next week. Oh, and Jim Jonas.